Hello, this is about time and forever. Hello, species value nature system. That is physically manifest trinity, individual grouped in together. That simultaneously as distinctly, non-distinctly, as value as nature as value. Where and as and how that value was named humanity, distinctly and non-distinctly from the species body. Now, see, with this is per the engineering we are, per the system that is true always. As one identity of value progression that is all other ones at the same time. How is recorded. The forever flower is drawn to show this, which will be revealed. See, this is about little rap guy and friends are being used to show you exactly the trap that modern nations are in, sickly distinctly, every single modern nation, effectively having been engineered as human fact treatment nature, everyone blaming other things, others themselves, for what nature demonstrates, for what really causes nature to demonstrate negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. And that long having done that was engineered as fact treatment nature where it counts, how it counts, to self-valuing that only having been. Self-valuing needs to keep from connection. This identity of value progression that simultaneously is increasing needs a part too. In other words, might, power, and force are identities apart, but simultaneously they share a bonded identity or slash identity of value progression space. What is gaining its value simultaneously is simultaneously also transferring its value as one identity's identity of relationship to itself, not just self-generating, but as an identity of volume that interaction with itself where it only increases in volume, positive or negative here, because Earth has a distinct and non-distinct relationship to the rest of the planets that is most probably closest to the greatest inherent nature of volume that won't mix with temporary forever natures, quality of diffusion, individually grouped in together, not but one way. This is the value of the order of the finite. See, science has obligations by five bonded identities of value, but that are also five identities of sequence nature. See, but we have sciences abridged, and all we're taken as victims, backed by a devil, not as a ghost, but as a identity racketeering. It forced people to defend sciences per a method no longer led by the identity of relativity, its identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that invisible but still discernible. Pantheism about the identity of value of per science, one identity of value slash value progression that is each individual grouped and together, value slash value progression. For example, as species, what is the difference between male and female? These are two identities of the ground relationship that one nature has onto itself. Also, with the life coming in and out, with and as our value at the same time. This is a simultaneous nature. Has to be cared about more and more because, or it's forced from here. See, but this is science of evolution using the ground. I'll gather round. Identity of relationship to itself. See, this is how we need to have the human fact treatment nature simultaneously realizing how we're going to overcome this, which is so simple, but it takes admitting it. But it also that takes simultaneously realizing and admitting all verbal fact treatment nature, sequence treatment nature, interbranch individually grouped and together, distinctly, non-distinctly, simultaneously, and sequentially, they are maintained, self-valued, already acted, criminally foreign influence premises treatments, sequence treatments, made up fake recorded things, already rolls within as that manifest way worse than witch trials, already having prevented even the simplest answers from being answered will cause slavery. There was a breaching method entrenched here with laws tied to databases since before computers that controlled what everyone could say in layers of motivations, natures, needs, interests, forced to roles. All fact treatment nature slaves, every single one, before our founders were even born, entrenched north and south. Fake sides there and here because those nations have the same thing. Since before modern nations, religions, messengers, thank God for them, in latter semi-ancient times, in mid-semi-ancient times, an archetypal criminal enterprise. I'm not a lawyer, not a police former, not a criminal. The bar itself is recorded originally and still. Live progressions from all databases, roles, criminally foreign influence, fact treatments, self-value. This is identity's course. Again, this is the idea how identity, how its identity of relationship to itself, like the air's gases, like how they have distinct identities of relationship to itself. For example, helium, distinct from oxygen, distinct from carbon monoxide. No, not carbon monoxide poisonous. Oxygen, pure oxygen poisonous. The right mixture of them, positive value nature progression. See, this is one identity in demonstration to us as all difference while because it generated it. How did it do that? Cell science. So we're going to look at the invisible but discernible. And we're going to study the three identities of volume. Active. Before the active, there is what is. How could something be smaller than smaller? I mean, smaller than zero. Because before before physics were generated, before metaphysics were generated, identity of value progression was generated. The identity that has all parts of space onto and as its value the same way, just has how we have all parts of all identities of our body are simultaneously semi-nature relationship to our complete identities. And each person's complete identity can't be its complete identity. Enough so it has to have two other natures of have other natures of volume. The rest of space, the rest of Earth's distinct and non-distinct relationship to the complete identity of value progression system is with no criminal foreign influences. No, that's only one reason why one species for so long could have self-valued victim roles with that criminally foreign influence since before modern nations' religions. Right through lifetimes, no one was allowed free speech to defend religions. per opinions recorded, inter-sciences, criminally foreign influence, delusions, raw. The church itself, all the sciences, all the martial arts, boxing, other sports, taken from this sophistication that was wrought before, when humanity was still being led by the identity that has us to use why and how we're individual grouped in together. And when we're valuing those three value orders of value simultaneously, it is sequentially first to the individual. See, but we don't have this because we have identities of law, identities of titles, identities of jobs, identities of sciences, identities of all locations, areas, and states in a trap. And then further and further, originally and still, from off all locations, especially on and off campuses of each age, rolls with this further through other motivations, natures, interests, and sequence racketeering, collusion with the ground originally, where it had tribes A through Z, after they already made nations A through Z, forget proper what they had been gathered to and capable as, and for itself, as value progression, evolution's fruits and gifts here, as its identity of relationship to itself that way here, through and as our value slash S, or as it forced from here, Leith of Hadith. So the ancient gaming system too, it only feels like game slash S, because this is evolution. Evolution science uses ground though. No. So we have this fact treatment nature pathology of homes that were involved with the torture of and with the fact treatment nature slavery of our founders. And they put even sicker laws juxtaposed against people with color of skin. And they did that with and as people from a whole bunch of nations already that were taken as victim predator roles with internation sciences, criminally foreign influenced, all position of time treatments too, always self-valued, getting over on forever nature, actual course, which is to the individual first in sequence. See, we don't have mandated law followed. And the whole time they're stacking databases with racketeering acts, whole fake things about American citizens. Other nations are doing the same thing. Then they have shared policing of stores and stuff like that. Rolls with programs, rolls with all that manifest. In reaction to negative value nature progressions, acts and natures, acts like predicate acts, natures like criminal and seditious natures, wrongdoers, mass wrongdoing, identities of the law that blame the real causes of other things on others and on selves, and on other causes than really. And that is the maintained outcome. To have used remotely and to continually use remotely that which kept all locations, areas, and states in collusion, self-valuing the identity thefts and frauds and bracketeering acts self-valued against our founders, our founding parents, against their founding parents. And this includes our native founding parents, because it would have been much worse without them. But our founding parents and Native Americans both lost on significant fronts with fact treatment nature, because of how Methodically, this is not sourced by one modern nation, but it's fluent through each. And they knew, and it's a method that knew that tribes A through Z would have to blame the real causes of predicate acts upon them. For example, facilitated through this racketeering method, not just to divide and conquer them simultaneously, while they would make people, oh, divide and conquer. Now they're learning, so all engineered, propagated breaching tools, breaching screens, victim predators, fact cheating nature slaves, everyone. Now that so we never have correlation allowed to speak, not by accident. That's because they value that. They want it semi understood, and or they want the people who understand the most getting over on people using the simple correlation, simple sequence shifts. All that is evidence where and how they act like it's nothing. How our founding parents, how they were tortured this way with this. There's a certain kind of torture involved with the fact cheating nature slavery of everyone that was standing at the time, which was not that long ago, since before computers with this database racketeering method that American history is really about. Worse than racketeering method, worse than organized crime, worse than war crimes. Simple organized crime method using human fact cheating nature, sequence racketeering roles, uses of others' names. And in relationship to mandated law not being followed. Uses of each branch of government distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, as other nations are the same things. They stack racketeering acts into databases and verbally with their mouths, and roles with wire crimes and with mail crime methods that are not only used to keep people doing this, but they already use the identities of the agencies themselves and of their on the ground identity of the locations from off them, further on and off them. This was sophistication here as that which was order to juxtapose natures of racketeering, private, overt criminal enterprises, nations, militaries, intersciences, all database relationships, and with the overt criminal enterprises, private in collusion, kept needing to hide roles with that same identity racketeering. They use color. They used the tactically denatured relationship to the ground that we have to claim tactically denatured. This is blaming this too is to teach people how to not use other people's names, but then they want to make opinions. So, but no one will follow mandated law. If you call up the phone, the police are going to lie with other police forms. Former director of the FBI down, involved with a whole bunch of Wethersfield police. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, involved with a whole bunch of racketeering with people from Local 230, involved with federal criminals, with crimes with kids with them, and on and off campuses, further with a principal sex offenders campus. Then they recorded themselves forcing such, hid such confessions, also recorded. They also were forging names and switching names into branch. Uses of make confessions, uses of the time to stack fake words, fake behavior onto people, attach them and their family members, anyone tied to them, to sequence racketeering. They're just painting fake things into databases through people's lifetimes. This is also because of their uses of they invested themselves, needed to hide all that actually recorded, which is manifest, where they have to hide from and keep hurt all that is capable of correlation nature, each age of it, per this other actual natural course. So we can use pantheism because it's not about God, where God has to be used by people's opinions. This is what algebraic consciousness is about. What God is about what is true always, not denying exceptions. That's what we can agree about. So we have agreements that are delusions wrought and criminally foreign influence originally still self-valued. So they forced every nation to roles with extortion, not just there, but here, all locations, areas, states, all identities of jobs, all identities of locations, uses of them where it counts, fact, treatment, nature, everyone speaking through others. There's sequence racketeering with that. There are a whole bunch of trade agreements where you're supposed to keep secrets. Originally, still not by accidents, everyone sickly, distinctly hurt, individually grouped it together, the identities of nations. So they keep them locked, justifications of reactions, always having to blame other things other than themselves with the justifications of those reactions. At the zenith is a perfect world that was revealed before as a science that realizes how each person is native pure at where it counts, which is why. So to understand real America, you have to understand how the decisions of courts were criminally foreign influenced, were tortured, and of police at the same time against Native Americans first, and then simultaneously, and now progressively at the same time. We are not a stagnant value, and this value nature system only increases. Yin's volume increases and Yang's volume increases simultaneously because one identity of value progression, its identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that increases. So what does that look like? Looks like one complete identity of volumes relationship to its three semi-natures of volume distinctly, not distinctly and simultaneously, sequentially distinctly. So it's not sequentially, but part of it is. See, for example, first in the inherent, we're gonna the inherent that two and as that part of the order of the value of the smallest thing, the smallest finite features of each of the smallest identities of value/value progression of our body, individually grouped and together. Then, while as that active and progressive, this is with two identities of sequence nature, not just before and after, but that are where and how each identity of value, even those invisible but still discernible identities of value, share an identity and its distinct, non-distinct, and simultaneous relationship to itself. Simultaneously as sequence nature, from beyond infinity to and from before zero through three natures of zero. It has its identity relationship to itself as the one at 10, for example. This is how English was revealed to be taught. being led by the identity the sciences share, differentially, sequentially, simultaneously, distinctly, non-distinctly, simultaneously. So you don't ever see how they know things we have to say. They put jumping in front. They name the projects. That's what they call it in Hartford, in Weathersfield, Hartford. People call it the projects. They now, so we have to make this a school where real science admits these losses with the fact sheet nature, with the identity of the sciences, with this identity of science, this identity of volume that identity is. Emotions have 5 bonded identities that are in relationship to simultaneously. While it is true that they have one, they only have one that they are in relationship to. And that's so we could discern that one, its identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that distinctly, not distinctly, and simultaneously as 5 identities of sequence nature, and in relationship to its self-generation. So we're just how we could consider the inherent portion of volume distinctly more and more. That creates a bond between the progressive and the active. That is the value that is in every individual grouped and all the identities of value progression at once, including all the planets, all things, vaccines. So this is forever nature's course. This is times. Times identity like our own. Times complete identity is simultaneously a semi-nature relationship, increasingly value, unceasingly value, relationship to forever's complete identity. That which is self-generating. So simultaneously, where and as and how, it is distinct onto its inherent sub-nature of volume, its complete nature of volume. It is simultaneously also distinct onto its progressive nature of volume. While where it is non-distinct and distinctly non-distinct simultaneously. So where it is distinct onto the invisible but still discernible progressive nature of volume we are, as value, as nature as value simultaneously. For example, in relationship to people stacking in cities across the globe, in relationship to a pathology of what they call suburban infrastructure that was forced since before cars, from a tactically denatured native relationship to the ground, in its identity of relationship to itself. So at the last second, money becomes what drives value. And this slavery method is a whole bunch of last seconds. This is a method that kept going. It's not just extortion. It's not just torture. It's not just slavery. It's not just identity thefts, which is critical because this is what the substance of volume is. This identity that the scientists share, and sequentially, differentially, and simultaneously, how this is in demonstration of the identity of value progression in its identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that again, not just onto its own self, but onto how that is discernible, is how it is each like the subject and the verb. All the identities of volume of English, there are identities of volume as identity, as one shared identity of volume. You see, the sounds of the English language, these 26 sounds, were most probably they were revealed demonstrably by people who revealed also and understood also and valued also that and how and why. The sounds of the English language have an identity of relationship to themselves that is a grouped value, simultaneously while as an individual value. Simultaneously, while there is a scientific method of prayer that is just correlation, just like it's not just writing it down, but you have the five orders of value, the five identities of sequence nature. These are what things they are simultaneously in demonstration of what they are simultaneously with an as by and as this identity of value progression. This that has where and as and how might power and the force are as parts apart, inseparable from it, stronger than all things. All exceptions are in demonstration of it too. All exception nature is. So we could try to fight this. I mean, we could try not to fight. We could try to do anything. As long as we're not going by this system, it's going to demonstrate negative value nature progressions, action natures, length of Hadis, force, space, nature, transfer. Now, this again engineered identities of the ground and identity of the ground relationships, human relations, self-valued criminally foreign influence, sequence racketeering victims, blaming the causes of other things other than themselves, and then defending that as victim predators. We have no forgiveness where we have the people needing to counter things because they are in collusion with those things. Each so we have the identities of all the hundreds of nations that need to keep secrets together, need to pretend their practicality together in relationship to hundreds of nations having hundreds of nations themselves, time and positions on all positions of the human factor nature again, same tactically denatured relationship to nature, to grounds value ties to our fact nature, same self-value. Not by accident, that was used remote. That was a remote breaching method that forced slavery. And again, that is inseparable from understanding and needs to understand the fact nature of slavery of our founders, which and also because, for example, it's also the fact nature slavery of the identity the sciences really share, of the identity of the substance of the value of convictions they make as identity grounds, relationships to identities of industries reliant upon subjects and reliant upon people with campuses to provide them reliance upon abridged sciences, because that's all there is allowed per the slavery method. So we have identities of military recorded types of military were easily criminally foreign influence, all kinds of racketeering with psychology. They're forging names and switching names to hide things. There are various natures of courts. They've been involved with psychology and with drug crimes formal forever. They need to hide lie progressions from that just by not by accident, already in collusion with overt criminal enterprises, undercover with them, involved with them with wire crimes, mail crimes, then they just lie about that. They'll lie about what is actually recorded if you call up police with proper logic and insights. Former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, he's involved with uses of Congress remote, uses of Comey and Mueller, their roles preventing mandated law and stacking more and more racketeering acts against who asks for mandated law for them to fix their database racketeering acts and all that tied to them. The racketeering uses of Trinity College and through other people's names because they're using the identity of it from off of it. Because we have foreign and domestic in collusion too. Whereas we have Connecticut courts with uses of these campuses through time, and then in the World Trade Center attack, and then since with the investigators of it having to need lie progressions tied to their uses of include together collusion uses of investigations like CNN sources. We have like their roles with white power treatments. They're involved with military police, involved with a pattern of racketeering with kids through time. That is also maintained translated to all routes and locations. Uses of corners, uses of all that originally instilled to collusion, tribes A through Z, made them blame other things other than themselves for the predicate acts against them, for the criminal and seditious natures of fact human nature racket against them. They had to respond to. Same thing, colonists A through Z had to blame other things other than themselves. And all together, individually grouped it together. They had to keep trying to pretend to be about positive. They had to keep hiding their lie progressions. Engineered, only capable of it. Everyone was captured and is captured. So now we have identities, a job. This they used the identity of Russians, the identity of Americans, that fake. Because there, for example, hundreds of nations have psychology racketeering. They have this database racketeering where they're spreading rumors about each age of fact treatment nature because they already have originally instilled. Interbranch, individually grouped and together, maintain criminally foreign influence to each individual grouped and together of each branch. Crime methods manifest, uses of them engineered, they're used remote, where they can hide it, pretending to perceive things, pretending to record things, sequence racketeering. These is their uses of on-off interbranch locations, but it's simultaneously having been translated, recorded how they were used remote, with all locations, areas, and states, and intersciences. Each age of fact treatment nature. Sickly, distinctly hurt, all of blaming other, not just blaming other things, others themselves. Missing how, not just missing how everyone was engineered roles with that, used by that, already having been. Missing what is right there with each location already. Has overt criminal enterprises, private ones. Has other nations policing, has other nations all private tied to it. Kept needing to hide the same sequence with the branches. Kept needing to hide the same sequence shifts. Same finite lies, active lies, progressive lies, identity theft, fraud, and racketeering lies, not by accident. Not by accident, no one ever addressed how the laws of early America were fact cheating, identity thefts, frauds, and racketeering involved. No one addressed how they were tortured. Now, see, when they brought up torture with the World Trade Center, there were already people in collusion with Saudis against Saudis and Americans against Americans. They just put the Saudis to the fake. They have Nave here and there, just defenses of identity, the ground relationships to businesses like malls, to relationships, to agreements to like what products they were going to carry. But way worse than that is the psychology racketeering, medicine racketeering, and with that, is uses of the bar, all identity of the ground locations, originally and still too, all the sciences, all the sports, all fitness things, boxings. So what we do is we have to simultaneously admit worse than forsaken below bottom. And bottom has to be an identity of relationship that nature has to itself. And then as its conjunction to people that can evolve. And where we are more than that. And where it is differentially not that true per its system. That means we have to fix the ground. Its identity of relationship to itself. Tactically denatured. These are native rights, not just Native American. They're a barometer. They are identity of the ground locations with everyone else forced to already having been forced to entertain where you can't entertain zoning laws means to them. And us at the same time, tactically for self-value. All landscape theater, oh, it's beautiful. All you see that is not overtly criminally foreign influence. I mean, tactically denatured. Earth's nature. It is landscape theater that was forced with this method. The sea is like a time bomb. Thank God we have people trying to do things. But it's a time bomb over. How long has the plastic been breaking down to little particles? How long has had things been leaking into it? How long has all fresh water been bad? How long have there been fears in relationship to threats that we don't even know everyone figured out how to counter? So they just kept everyone naive and masked with ways. See, pantheism is by this method. See, but we have to be able to counter. We have prison structures throughout the world, like in Syria and stuff like that. We all these topics in the news. Turkey. These are people affected by psychology, their roles with drugs, their roles with various natures of courts, and their roles with agreements, statutes, and precedents originally and still. They can't defend themselves and stand free speech with sequence true. It's simultaneously inherent, active, and progressive means. The order of the finite, that delicate, it's simultaneously transferred to an as value with this invisible but still discernible actual nature's actual identity. Science means by ourselves, let alone grouped and together. So we have to simultaneously move to counter the tactically denatured relationship each position of the human fact treatment nature is upon, and the identity of the ground technically natured under it, and the relationship between those two. Same way that our cells have cell nucleus, cell body, cell wall, physical trinity, value as nature, nature as value, simultaneous relationship to themselves. Together manifest for this body of value discernment of the value of what is coming through. And to what? That which is greater than and less than all things at the same time. Where and how we are a quality of diffusion and its active progression, whereas and how it makes more of its identity of forever nature through temporary slash lasting, more and more temporary slash lasting identities of value slash value progression. Perfect the rest of nature because it has no criminal foreign influences. It seeks the best identity of the ground, quality of its fact treatment nature relationship that this shared identity can have to itself naturally, as our species does. But not when it goes to work. Not when it goes to work each into branch. They were already, before they were in those positions, they were involved with database racketeering. They were involved with identity ground locations racketeering. Way worse than racketeering. Way worse than war crimes. See, we're in a semi-ancient trap. And this is database tied. So what they do? There's no before this is money tied. All the money and stuff like that, but that wasn't just colonized tied, colonization tied. This is a breaching method that made modern nations only capable of blaming other things other than themselves, only discerning that, not being able to fathom what kept really Native Americans A through Z, colonists A through Z, blaming other things other than themselves for negative value nature progressions, acts of nature they had to respond to, not by accident. Free speech, undo the torture. They put them they make them get these are the branches are like little babies. They're like with the same narratives of overt criminal enterprises, hurt victim predators, the worst ones. They show you on TV, real or made up. They're recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. TV is involved with racketeering methods with each branch of government where they make up conspiracy theories. They pretend people that make a conspiracy theory, and then they keep stacking lies into databases. And everyone keeps making overall allegations against people that they don't even know. And then these people have to wonder why they're using their names. The branches of government individually grouped it together. They're forging names and switching names. They make confessions, sequence shifts, mail crime, wire crimes with that. They still keep doing their job, huh? These are people involved with World Trade Center racketeering, leading up to it, in the context of it, also leading up to it in the Ninth Circuit. What had been time stamped on time inside the Ninth Circuit. Someone from inside the Ninth Circuit had post-dated, re-stamped, post-dated to make it look appear as if it had been time stamped late. And then right before the Trade Center got hit, the World Trade Center towers and taken out on 9/11. That was proven. That proven led to a case with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, where he was a co-defendant in the case, which was slash S, which was ongoing at the time of my father's death. Those people involved with that, various natures of courts, and other people involved with that. So the Ninth Circuit is right next to the World Trade Center. It's a court panel of judges. They had been shown post-dated documents. There were also people involved with the World Trade Center, including victims. And I barely know them, but I feel bad. You know, I'm gonna say feel. Because I'm numb here. But I mean, I would think I would never want that on anyone, and I want counters to it because it's a whole bunch of people tied to a Heather Hansen into a Joe DeMauro, and further on off the Southstein Middle School and the Weathersfield Library. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with people further involved with juxtaposed natures of racketeering with kids, with various natures of courts also, and with various natures of Weathersfield police, and a whole bunch of people that federal criminals involved with them with racketeering acts, with former director of the FBI and his co-defendants, like a John LeConte, people associated with him with a Webb school and with other schools in Weathersfield, and with on-off church locations, with military police involved with identity theft, frauds, evidence racketeering, identity racketeering. Also, these are with ties to all the topics in the national and local news, and to time placements of ads, with families also involved, like with mayors, other natures of politicians, everyone pretending passions and emotions from backgrounds, roles with the identity theft, frauds, interbranch evidence racketeering, sequence shifts, human trafficking. That's what it is when you attach someone to fake locations, fake communications. Now, there are a whole bunch of people with Hartford Hospital 3 times recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with juxtaposed a whole bunch of natures of racketeering with judges and with police, Weathersfield Police, and other agencies with Hartford Hospital and their roles with untimely deaths on off Trinity College and associated other natures of racketeering with the people involved with that. These are also racketeering into branch with their Facebook pages, with them lying about what is actually recorded over emails, with them lying about what is actually recorded over phones, with them lying about what is actually recorded over mail. Dozens and dozens of people associated with the Britain Superior Court alone through time involved with racketeering with CCSU and with people on Park Street recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. I don't know the Cuddy family. I don't even think they went to my grammar school, but they were confessed, recorded, and demonstrated in grammar school. A whole bunch of brothers in a Lance Cuddy recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering. That a Debbie Gold and that her family is involved with a whole bunch of other people, and with O'Brien family. Now these are also people with all kinds of racketeering uses of CCSU by them, and by people associated with them, with database racketeering and racketeering on off those locations, and their roles with racketeering with depositions and with cases, and with leading up to the World Trade Center attack, because these are CCSU. This is also intermilitary families, and then private doctors. These are people all recorded, kept from off their locations, bringing the identity of their locations, the identity of them not wanting to get sued, things like that, used to maintain persuasions to roles originally instilled. You can't defend fake logic, fake positive treatments. So I'll read the Santa Claus. Republic rise. I get the Attorney General now for us all. We get the Attorney General now. So I want to have warrant. I don't want to hurt people with an attorney general racketeering acts. All I need is response. I need them from the interbranch names forging and switching. I need them to give up the further people involved with the Kerr family, per Officer Jerry Miller online, further involved with the principal sex offenders campus. Now, as people involved further with Mayor Gold, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated also involved with them with racketeering with fire departments and with a Russian woman I don't know the name of. They also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering uses of wherever I ran and of all the corners on Griswold Street and the ones associated with another Russian family, two Peruta brothers. See, this science cares more about Russia than them. These people are involved with also readings of statutes with sequence racketeering. We have statutes that give the benefit of the doubt where and as and how the courts are victims, maintain victim predators, for example, back into time impositions. Same thing with the nurses. Great people to have a job, help people, but victim predators. Not for the reasons everyone thinks. No, the food comes out this time, that's how it is. And that's that's the means you have. These are not means. Then they want to compare each other. But people need to keep moving forward from this base. We never had reliefs from because we never had free speech. Let just one teach. They need to have things like racism stayed as like self-defeating counters. So misprision uses of them with that which keeps the real cause of negative value nature progressions, action natures, and forsaken thing, people, forsaken identity ground relationships to people as their value, as this value all things share at once. Boxings to campus dance with stolen name. Who play this game? It only feels like game. Who train? Boxing. So if someone wants to do this, whoever you are, this is what we do first. We convince, never see like on television or someplace they have huge buildings where a whole bunch of people live in them. And they call it poverty. For example. But see, when they do, they keep physical delusions maintain self-value because everyone's child abused here. We have the branches recorded with the same narratives, same victim reactions as victim predators, with the same nature of logic racketeering as the overt criminal enterprises, if you listen to them on CNN, Fox News, PBS. We never had this identity, uses of the identity of the ground locations, and further rolls with that through other motivations, natures, needs, interests, uses of them. Allowed free speech, even though that's what's actually recorded. We never have allowed used the physical delusions that are recorded evidences in relationship to people who the methods of disputing people's the substance of our premises, of other people's premises. There are sequence racketeering, they're preventing mandated law. Everyone only cares about who they know, not what they know. So we have former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, involved with Congress, knows, the media knows, while they are pretending they don't realize. Each modern nation is standing extorted. There are a whole bunch of natures of industry that have no right, no means to defend themselves. And their treatments of A and B of positive or negative, their treatments of identity of sequence shifts, but through how they're victim predators. They were forced to need. Well, people need money though. That's life. That's how we have to do it. We're in a captive value nature system employed by a breaching method originally and still. That's what our founders need us to say, to understand, to discern, to overcome, to consume. Prepare the room. So what we do is we put the Republic Organization Coalition and on the most forsaken areas. On the areas next to it, we set up another means to fund that. We're going to make, see, it's just evolution, especially where it's overtly from a tactically denatured identity of relationship to itself, its identity of value progression, evolutions, that which gains or loses itself through us. Again, the rest of space nature with no criminal foreign influence is especially legalized. Criminally legalized, criminally foreign influence statutes, self-defended, it's self-valued that way. Can't help but stay perpetually lipogressions from their spots in relationship to each standing identity of the ground. Identity of age is means, by correlation, nature's actual means. One way redeems. With sacred pure. See, you let it go. It's native pure. So we have the opinions of courts recorded, influenced by how their victim predators through and maintain everyone, the police forms, maintain roles with database racketeering, maintain roles needed to hide that by pretending more and more fake things to the databases, preventing mandated law and attaching people to more and more fake recorded things, misinterpreting on it purposely. So we have further this simple, but there are no jobs against it. So we're gonna have to have them understand that and how the identities of the campuses were used by foreign and domestic in collusion, and how they have to counter things that happen bad sometimes, and the means and needs they do to do that such. They can't defend that and counter what exploits that and keeps that, actually. And then it was the World Trade Center attack. And since it was with the same ones from Connecticut, interbranch and private tied to them, and intercampuses tied to them, recorded how maintained collusion, kept needing to hide the same finite sequence shifts, finite active progressive lies, identity thefts, frauds, and racketeering lies with the attack rolls on the World Trade Center as the people further involved with on and off the Ninth Circuit, then and now with racketeering, with WFSB, with a whole bunch of people on and off the Wethersfield, out of the state judicial branch offices, Also with the Fienza family, a whole bunch of people tied to them, like a Dillon family, involved with them with my new and past neighbors, involved with racketeering with forensics cliques, with child sex offenders involved with crimes with foreign and domestic medical racketeering, also tied to their uses of Town Line Drive and locations near that, and all along the route that goes by there, and all along the route that goes to CCSU. CNN has recorded, confessed, demonstrated that roles preventing mandated law and sequence shifts, lying about what is actually recorded, and preventing that from being reported because they forged names and switched names into branch, which is also actually recorded. But they want to keep using their identity, the ground locations, and all the ones tied to them. They use all locations to hide what they already did in courts every day, what they already used into the sciences at Central Connecticut State University for through time, on and off campuses, relationships to it, all along roads and routes, shared policing of strip malls, regular malls, shared policing of campuses, intercampus is involved with racketeering on and off the campuses, not just unequally against everyone, keeping all that private and intermilitary and inter branch originally still criminally foreign influence. Delusions raw, like through their roles with reported on time dishonorably discharged Kerr family from the Marines, involved with them with foreign and domestic racketeering with New Britain Superior Court, dozens of people, prosecutors retired and standing, whole bunch of people involved with them with racketeering with on and off CCSU, that's intercities through time with the child campuses. The same house involved with their extended family members further with a Bob Chase, a Phil Clo involved with a Bob Chase, and with people from the Britain Superior Court, male and female prosecutors, state's attorneys, victims advocates involved with crimes with the principal sex offender, and with other natures of child offenders, even sexual, further on and off the campuses, then and now. My town's police chief and a whole bunch of people tied to his daughter, and to her husband, and to his brother and sister also recorded, confessed, demonstrated involved with this, with racketeering with DACA too. This is since before. These are people involved with racketeering with forensics locations through time, with the end of the Brown Turnpike and of Cedar Hill Cemetery across the street from it, where J.P. Morgan had to be buried. I mean, not had was buried, and who had to loan us money to fight in the world wars. Our founders didn't have free speech. They were backed into roles within as an identity they had to create, incapable of winning on many fronts in the American Revolution, incapable of doing anything but pretending the real causes of the revolution and the real causes of negative value nature progressions, accidents were caused by other things other than themselves. Again, for time treatment's forced too. Every way is all too fast, all ways too fast, too slow. No modern nation's leader is allowed anything but states and areas, forcing them to be in collusion with all locations, areas, states, recorded intersciences, logic racketeering, identity racketeering natures, victims but victim predators. Forgiveness is for this vaccine. So this is so we set up this organized, like organismic gaming system, which is no game, which is science, which is science of evolution, just feels like games, phenomenon of that. So we have to claim forsaken to overcome it. We have to claim and reveal the simultaneous means that are before and beyond the integrity of any existing identity of the ground location, individually grouped and together, is capable of affording, not by accident, of realizing, is capable of defending themselves as as they are now, where and as and how. So this reveals what science is supposed to be saying. Who's really treating positive right? People just worried about their people say, "Oh, we don't care. We just want to go about business." And you can't blame them because but we have to have someone because the news is involved with racketeering acts, illusions, where they're keeping live progressions with a whole bunch of retired and standing mayors I never had a conversation with. They need to pretend things are true that aren't because they have their kids involved with them, with FBI and with CIA also with their kids involved with racketeering of juxtaposed natures with kids, with their family members. There are various natures of courts recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with crimes with their patients and criminals before they went in there, and with these doctors that use the triage place. Now these are people starting violence and then sequence shifting and making things up and preventing writing, forging names, switching names at the branch as the people further involved with World Trade Center racketeering, as people further involved with the principal sex offenders campus then and now, as people further involved with the uses of the Facebook pages, stewards, and employees on and off New Britain Superior Court, dozens of people involved with racketeering, with agencies and with judges and with prosecutors, with even sexual crimes uses of their Facebook pages, of their roles with human trafficking, of their roles forging names, switching names, of their roles with confessions from strangers who then pretend to know people, and complete strangers who pretend to know people criminally. We have all kinds of verbal racketeering tied to their wire crimes and mail crimes interbranch, their crime methods, lying about sequence. These are the same courts involved with racketeering with former Director of the FBI Robert Luskin and with foreign and domestic families leading up to the Trade Center attack context, as the ones intercampuses also involved with them with racketeering through time on off the places at the end of places at the round of exits and entrances to highways, like Town Line Road, like near West Farms Mall. Those places recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with military, police, foreign, and domestic, also with racketeering, also drugs crimes with the Eastern States Narcotic Drugs Task Force, people associated with uh, um, um, Kevin Dillon, Sean Dillon, Anna Dillon, also with my new and past neighbors, further recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, further involved then and now with untimely deaths and with the principal sex offenders campus and with their roles with interbranch falsified police reports through time, intercities police forms, forging names, switching names with them. Same people involved on off Trinity College with untimely death, with people pretending they had a conversation with me tied to the Morrow family, tied to Officer Jerry Miller, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated also as others. Two Mendes police are also further involved with New Britain Superior Court with them then and now with the principal sex offenders campus, with juxtaposed natures of racketeering uses of the kids. These are also people who have recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with crimes with overt or criminal enterprises and agencies and other nations involved with on and off Fox Connecticut News, on and off their building and their security. Also with the interbranch police, their family members, like these two Mendez police. Two Domain brothers also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering with databases and with various natures of drug crimes with prosecutors and with judges associated with them in the Britain Superior Court. And Rick C.M. Faglione, I also barely know, associated with also confessions about his roles with Brendan Leahy and a Brian Silver. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by other people with the Britain Superior Court that also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated themselves involved with various natures of racketeering acts on and off the courts through time. They're just lying into databases more and more to uncover what used them and uses them remote. These are also people involved with this Leahy family, with racketeering with various natures of courts, and them forging that I never had a conversation with in my life. They pretend to hold detailed fake conversations with me. Then two more times I got forced into Hartford Hospital, never saw them there again. They built on that, on more fake conversations with me. Now these are people with a Judge Killian self-recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering with the people I had meeting the fake conversations about the World Trade Center. These are also people racketeering acts with the federal criminal code defendants in that case and their family members, let alone former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin. WFSB and Fox Connecticut News also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering on off campuses with medical racketeering, fake relationships to doctors, to, to adults, and to kids, as ones with kids through time with various natures of their family members involved with them, all kinds of abuses of them, all kinds of methods recorded actually. You have to look at the sequence shifts and whatever Debbie Gold pretended me to fake locations with them, fake conversations with her, approaching me 2 times like an animal. And I don't know why she approached me like that. I don't even know who she is. I only know her because of that. And the only time I saw her before that was years before that. I explained that. And the first time was good. So, her family is further involved with forensics. People with a forensics location will go further, record, confess, and demonstrate with a whole bunch of racketeering confessions and roles with house with extended family members of a house in my area involved with the Central Connecticut State University and with Trinity College used for racketeering acts as the people involved through time with the child campuses with connected racketeering acts actually recorded. See, my town's police chief and a police chief years ago also recorded involved with racketeering with the same house with the kids through time. All kinds of natures of bad. So this is the plan, America. This is the plan, modern nations. We're going to show where they have all this group is this group is that. They have that maintained. Individual grouped and together by our species. We have logic racketeering roles. Fake we have identity racketeering here and there, self-value. They need Russians and Americans have racketeering methods used like with their media too. Pretend people are making conspiracy theories, attaching lies to truths, like you're supposed to pretend people are making allegations, right? They're making allegations against people who are speaking about what is actually recorded. They're doing this in conjunction with crime methods and nature's interbranch, stacking more and more criminally foreign influenced lies and racketeering acts against individuals like myself. as ones that are simultaneously against everyone. These are uses of the identity of the ground. Little Hartford, gather round. Originally still, so they need to repent. Forgiveness is for them. Fake branches fall. Build walls. So they're pretending that they're against things like extortion and stuff like that because they want to make wars. They want to rely upon the perfect the narratives they had in the background, have in the background for their uses of the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, natures. They already blamed the other things, others themselves. Get a title, get a job, so you could counter. Wrong. And so that could be used, stay used, breaching method used. So Connecticut has racketeering with other nations that they hid from Mr. Manafort, worse than hid from him. They're torturing him right now to say nothing. Now the people that are involved with racketeering leading up to and in the Trade Center attack with courts, judges retired and standing, prosecutors retired and standing, fire departments are also involved with Russian families, people associated with this Demoro family and with the Hanson family, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering with people on off Webb School, on off Buckley High School in Hartford, on off Milner School in Hartford, on off the principal sex offenders campus, on off the Southstein Middle School, on off the Weathersfield High School, all sides of it. These are people involved with bad things and bad things that are pretended legitimate. World Trade Center and Washington, D.C. Maintain manifest uses of all identity of the ground, locations, areas, and states to hide everyone's needs to hide the same sequence shifts, finite lies, active lies, and progressive lies, and identity thefts, frauds, and racketeering lies. Not by accident, with the overt criminal enterprises, private inclusion with the branches, self-valuing them. The inclusion, CCSU has a whole bunch of people they trained to be leaderships of prisons that are involved with these courts, with racketeering, with Sandy Hook also, and with on and off the state judicial branch offices, on and off the state prison offices. All racketeering acts rolls with the same house/S. That is the same house with the Phil Cololo, the same house with a bunch of people from my town, intercities, interbranch, involved racketeering with the forensics location through time. People involved racketeering with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and the interbranch. Mail crime methods, wire crime methods, forging names, switching names. You can't call up a complaint. They'll pretend, oh, he's making conspiracy theories. We don't understand him. Fix the sequence shifts. Pick one name and sequence into branch. Get them out the paper now. These are people pretending people. These are pejorative. These are people forcing abuses of little kids as people that pretend they're against such. Everything you hear on TV is fake. CT must break. Vaccines. So they should just admit. Why do you think all the movements hardest to go against the president are through Connecticut? Trinity College was already used for racketeering with the elections. Use all victim predators. Then they won't respond. Then they go up to people. Oh, they pretend like they're doing their job legitimately. They're involved with sequence racketeering. Now, WFSB recorded, confessed, and demonstrated that they're involved with racketeering acts with my new and past neighbors. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering acts with the Dillon family. Kevin Dillon, Sean Dillon, Anna Dillon, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by a whole bunch of people associated with and as a Fianza family. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with them with racketeering on and off the worse than racketeering on and off the state judicial branch offices, on and off the route that goes by it, on and off other routes. Shared policing of locations involved with them. Also involved with them with confessions with the people tied to the untimely deaths in this Dillon family with Two Rod Highway and Hang Dog Lane. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with my new and past neighbors with them, with these Dillons. And these are also judges with real estate companies because they made racketeering involvements and uses of people on Park Street through time. And as the people further involved with the principal sex offenders campus in intercities with the campuses and people next to the campuses involved with drug medical racketeering with judges, various natures of courts that are involved with racketeering uses of the locations, areas, and states, uses of their database racketeering, uses of their campuses racketeering acts, roles, leading up to and in the Trade Center attack, had to hide that. Had to hide it since with the racketeering acts roles since. Forging names, switching names. Whole bunch of people tied to Anthony Yagman also with these doctors forging names, switching names with this Judge Killian, sequence shifting with the judges that came before him, involved with racketeering with Facebook, and then with child sex offenders, then with rape threats, and then sequence shifts, lying about what is actually recorded online, attaching me and my family to fake words about what is recorded online. So these are people with other judges and courts that were recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with areas racketeering and locations racketeering as the locations at the end of the highways next to the mall. We're leading up to and in the Trade Center attack context. These are also people uses of Ukrainians and of Russians as victims, uses of their identities as victim predators, all these nations here and there. They have, for example, they pretend people make conspiracy theories. All right, thank you. If anyone's still watching, thank you.